Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Easter Shore Talk, your podcast for all things self-care and movies. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We're glad to have you. This is episode 82. I'm Jay Watson,
And I'm Cathy Castle.
and Kathy and I are joined this week by special guest Sarah Ihsan, who has joined me. She's a friend that I've met through Hearthstone Gym, and she reached out to me and wanted to come on and talk about some stuff. So, Sarah, why don't you tell everybody why you wanted to come on?
Hi. So I think one of the biggest things that I wanted to talk about was just kind of certain struggles that I've been through, and maybe even if this reaches one person to help somebody feel less alone, that's kind of the goal, right? And I was drawn to the whole self-care aspect and how that's kind of the main focus with the podcast. But I just kind of wanted to talk about some challenges I went through as a child and as I got older, and how it's kind of shaped me and certain struggles I've had to deal with.
Sounds good.
So, Sarah,
Would
you
you?
and I have kind of talked a little bit about your past, and we've kind of have some similarities in our circumstances. So, if you don't mind talking about what you're comfortable about talking about as far as some of the struggles that you have gone through.
Your
Yeah,
story?
for sure. So I was very fortunate as a child to be surrounded by my grandparents, my mom. I have two siblings, and unfortunately, I did go through some sexual abuse as a child, and it really affected me then and now, I would say. And along the way, I realized how much trauma can impact everyday life, even as you get older. And it was kind of something I had to figure out on my own a little bit. Um, and then I lost my father when I was 14, and then my older brother passed from an overdose a couple years ago. Um, so it's been a lot. And as I've gotten older, I've kind of realized, if you don't face the trauma, it will come back to you later on. And that's been something I've been really trying to focus on and get better at, because as I've kind of gone through life, it's shown up in different areas of my life that I would never suspect, like whether it's relationships,
Mhm.
friendships, because I really do believe if you associate yourself and identify with the trauma, then you kind of believe that that's all you're going to get, or that's all you deserve. And until you face that, and until you realize that I'm not what I've been through, that's the only way things can change. And that's the only way I've been able to get out of my head. And one of the biggest things has been my faith. I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by really amazing people in my life. And that's part of the reason why I personally believe in God so deeply, because of the beauty and also the pain that I've dealt with. It's been really, really difficult. And, as I'm talking, it's not that I've figured it all out. I'm kind of just saying certain things that have helped me figure out what does help and how to not identify with my trauma. Because for a long time, I kind of thought, oh, well, this is kind of who I am and that's it. And I lived in this kind of victim mentality of feeling like this is all life has to offer. So that's a kind of a little bit of some things I went through, especially as a child. And then as I got older, I unfortunately dealt with some abuse and everything like that. So it's really been a learning process for me.
So, Sarah, a lot of what you said I relate to, I connect to. What I find is really inspiring with you is that it took me, like you, one of the things that kind of was an indicator of how I was being affected by my sexual abuse was my failed relationships. And I did not, the light bulb didn't go on for me until I was 40 years old. So at 26, and it sounds like you've done some work for a little while, to, let's just say, in your 20s, to have kind of figured out, wait a minute, I need to work on Sarah. I mean, that's so incredible, because so many folks, and you hit the nail on the head, and I use that term all the time, identifying with your trauma or thinking that this is as good as it gets in your life. Um, I mean, those are just like key targets to hit when you're someone with a trauma, to kind of, I can tell you've done a lot of self-reflection where you've looked at yourself and said, okay, how is this
Yeah.
cloud affecting me? And
Hmm.
to understand that, whether it's romantic relationships, whether it's work relationships, well, family, it affects every our trauma impacts how we feel about ourselves. So therefore it impacts every person we interact with
Exactly.
in any way. So for someone in their 20s to have had enough insight and reflect and know that things weren't the way you wanted them to be, and think, okay, what does Sarah have to do to find the best Sarah, and to have started your healing process. Although that might not sound early to you, but for someone like me who didn't start till I was 40, like that's inspiring and that's impressive, and kudos to you for that.
Thank you. I
I just
appreciate
I want to say that I want to say the same thing. I want to echo the same thing. You are young, and I can't believe how old you are for as young as you are.
that. Yeah.
Um, I'm going to be honest with you. I've worked in the mental health space for a very long time, and to hear you describe what you described in the beginning of this podcast, I was like, wow. I'm glad this is taped, because everything you said is so helpful, probably to other people. But I do have a couple questions for you. And one is, and I think this would be helpful for people. You said that, obviously, you said having a victim mentality wasn't going to help you or heal you, and you've done a lot of self work. I just cannot believe how I'm proud of you. But anyway, you mentioned that it has shown up, that trauma has shown up in a lot of different places, to include relationship, friendships. So my first question for you is, what does that look like? So if somebody's listening to your story and something has happened to them, and they haven't really dealt with it, or they're not sure, they might think this is trauma, they're not sure, like, just give us a couple things about what that looked like, what was it?
I definitely would say, after a lot of reflecting and being in these kinds of situations, is pushing people away. I
Mhm.
think when you have gone through something traumatic or gone through anything in life, that you haven't fully dealt with head on, again, you start to believe that you don't deserve love, you don't deserve normal. You're constantly stuck in survivor mode, right? So you push the limits, you push people away, and it just creates a very toxic environment for not only yourself, but for the other person. You act out in ways that you reflect on after, and you're like, why did I do that? I don't actually want to lose this person. I don't actually feel this way, but I'm doing it because I have so much insecurity within myself that I feel the need to do that, because I associate myself with everything that's happened to me. I associate myself with the trauma, with all the bad that's happened in your life. And that starts to show up, especially as you get older and you realize, damn, maybe I didn't deal with the trauma the way I thought I did. Because when it comes up, sometimes you don't even realize it. And I think that was one of the biggest things for me, is realizing that I do deserve love. I do deserve healthy relationships.
Mm.
And I don't have to constantly be in a survival state of mind all the time.
I love that answer.
It's interesting, Sarah. I was kind of the opposite. Like I
Mm.
said, when I hit 40, I kind of like paused my life in a relationship sense, and I really reflected on what my role was in my unhappiness. And I discovered that, see, with me, I was sexually abused by different family members in different circumstances and didn't have any. Both parents were addicts, so I didn't have a family foundation to kind of fall back on for support in that. So what I discovered what I was doing was I was going out and seeking relationships, trying to fill that void of not having a family unit. So I was
Mm.
going about it in a healthy way. I was attaching in an unhealthy way, and you were pushing away. And then that kind of goes to show that there's not like it's going to show up different in different people. Although
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
went through, as far as a category, we went through a similar circumstance, but how we or unhealthy trauma response showed up in different ways. So I think it's important for anybody who's listening that if something just feels off in whatever it is, kind of stop and self reflect on what, like Sarah did. She's like, why am I pushing these people away? Why they're good people, but it's not working because I'm the unhealthy in this scenario.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
I
Um,
Go ahead.
well, I was just going to say that I think with all of that, I definitely relate to filling voids in a sense,
Mm.
especially with the loss of my brother.
Mm.
Um, I think I really tried to find that, whether it was within the fire department, like that camaraderie, or just other relationships in my life, just to fill that void because I wasn't, and not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but to almost idolize and put so much onto relationships, whether it's romantic, friendships, any kind of relationship, um, it's not healthy and it's not something that really did any good for me because it just showed the dependence I had on other people. And it comes back later in life because as I've gotten older and as I've started to heal and be on this healing journey, the reflection is one of the biggest things I deal with. And I really take the time to kind of think about certain things that I've said or done. And it all comes back to the fact that I've been unhealed. And I really thought that, oh, I'll go to therapy, oh, I'll do this. But it isn't until you're able to, like I said in the beginning, take yourself out of identifying with what you've been through. Because until then, I found myself in certain situations that wasn't healthy and it wasn't a response to heal. It was a response to almost forget. And I think that's something that's was really important.
So let me pause her again. I'm literally taking notes. I mean, I've been a clinician for a very long time, but I'm very fascinated by what you have to say, and I love what you're saying.
Thank you.
So if I am to repeat what you just said, is that you are saying because of you weren't healed and in the voids that you were feeling in your life, you were trying to fill them with other things that you were grabbing onto and maybe even putting them on a pedestal, those relationships or those things, so that you could avoid
yeah.
the real pain and things like that.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that,
Dependent. She called it dependence, Cathy. Yeah.
yeah, and then earlier you said too, sometimes that would lead to some toxic things. So I just think this is also you are being so yeah, obviously you're sharing your own vulnerabilities and this is so insightful. I just can't imagine that you talking right now isn't helping a lot of people, identify like, wow. So I think there'll be a fair amount of people, when you say, Jay, that maybe could leave this conversation tonight and be like, and think about it, reflect themselves on their life and say, maybe I do a piece of that. So would you say part of this is, you've talked about reflection a few times, is looking back, what's working, what's not working, what's happening with these relationships? And they don't always have to be romantic, is what you're saying.
No, not at all. And I think one of the biggest parts of self-reflection is also admitting that as each day goes on, every day you're going to learn something new, right? And every day you're going to kind of look back at mistakes you made, things you said you shouldn't have said, certain things you've done. I think a big thing for me was not breathing before I react. And that was something I really struggled with. And it's a constant, not even if you go through things, but you learn so much about yourself. Like I remind myself, like my mom's only, like this is her first time living. I've seen that, and to be not only patient with other people, and I have to remind myself of that, but patient with yourself, because this is everybody's first time living. And as much as we are hard on ourselves and we have all this, whether it's guilt, regret, shame, those things can hold you back from being your best self. And when I make a mistake, one thing I'm trying to do is reflect on it and not get too much in my head about it, which causes guilt and then which causes me to spiral and go down a really dark hole. So I think with self-reflection also comes giving yourself some grace, because we all make mistakes. And if you want to move forward, that has to be at the top of the list, because I feel like you almost have to be aware as a human being that if that's not at the top of the list, the guilt and the shame are going to overpower that. And that's going to take over the healing process. So with self-reflection, I think giving yourself grace is a huge part of it.
I think she's going to be a future therapist.
Well, I was about to say, I was literally about to say, she could be the poster child for this podcast, because she has done, at 26, has done so much self-work and so much.
Look, me and Jay are thrown in the white towel. She gets ding, ding, ding.
And look, Sarah and I have had some conversations at the gym, but they've been very brief, and because either I'm walking out or she's walking in, so we didn't really get in depth. But it's. I mean, Sarah, you're just you're an old soul. You are so incredibly self-aware and insightful, and that's.
Do you realize
that is going to serve you so freaking well.
I do. And it's hard sometimes, though, because I think what I was saying earlier is I'm so glad I'm self-aware, because I think there was a time where I wasn't, but at the same time I was, but I wasn't able to be self-aware and to almost acknowledge my mistakes and let that help me move forward. But with being self-aware, that also comes with being very hard on yourself. So with every little mistake, with every wrong thing I've said to somebody, every time I've reacted out of pain or emotion or not taking a second to breathe and think, I think that's something huge, actually, I struggle with, is not taking a second to just breathe, think.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? If somebody says, what does she mean? You don't, because we're all breathing. Do you mean literally the act of like the self-care technique of box breathing or whatever? Do you mean like a technique, or do you just mean I'm breathing?
Like just taking almost, well, both kind of like just remembering that I'm breathing. And that might sound silly, but sometimes I forget to breathe. And just reminding myself that I'm alive, I'm in control of my body, I'm in control of my thoughts, and I can control what happens next. Even if I don't like it, I don't like what the person said, I'm in my head spiraling, overthinking, having anxiety. reminding myself, and that's been one kind of goal I've been trying to set for myself, is to breathe and to think. And for me, give it to God, right? So I've been really trying to build that relationship.
Yeah.
And now it's almost like I have the word of God in my mind. So I'm able to use that as also a resource. And for me, feel the kind of the Holy Spirit within me and give me another option instead of anxiety, spiraling, or freaking out. So breathing, like literally taking a breath, helps me calm my nervous system and
Sure.
just take a moment to remember that I'm in control, because it all goes back to not feeling in control my whole life, right? So knowing that, I really have to take a moment and breathe. And I think that's
You
kind
know,
of where,
there's one thing you said I've never heard anybody say. And you said, this is everyone's first time living. I've never heard anybody use that term, but wow, is that powerful? That's giving the other person a break. Like, it's kind of like that. I'm pretty sure my parent was doing the best they could do. It's kind of
yeah,
in that realm, but I like it phrased like that. This is I got to remember, this is my first time living. My first time doing this, not like
Yeah.
we've been
You
around.
didn't have a practice run previously. Yeah.
yeah,
But that's a very, I like it.
So a couple things, Sarah, that really big bells went off. A couple things, and I have this thing that I kind of live by. It's called the progression of self. And when we work on ourselves, we do enough self work. We create a strong enough sense of self so that those situations where someone says something that's out of place or does something, we we're so secure in who we are. It's not that we don't hear it and it doesn't bother us at all, but it's just like I know who Sarah is, and what that person said does not define Sarah. It's so you talking about that was big, and the other thing is that it's very obvious to me that you've kind of conquered what I feel like is the biggest hurdle for people who are trying to overcome a specific trauma, especially a childhood trauma, and that's this. And I talk about this all the time. When we are on our healing journey, the hardest step and probably the most important step is we have to sit there with our pain. We have to like sit in it, like be with it and be present with it to get familiar enough with it to be like, okay, now how can I carry this forward healthy? It's always going to be there.
yeah,
And it's very obvious that you've done that part. You have sat in it long enough to understand how your trauma impacts these other parts of your life. And you have to be able to sit with your hurt and your pain and your anger. And like it's like sit there with a buddy that's not your buddy. You know what I mean? You have to get so familiar with the pain and the hurt and the trauma to know how to go forward with it. And you've obviously done that. And that's the hardest step, I think. But you've obviously to come to the conclusions, all these conclusions that you've done already, you've obviously done that. You've become very familiar with your stuff, I call it. And
Mhm.
yeah,
uh, I mean, that's you are so on your way to having an amazing life, and you may not even realize it. Look, I didn't get the big light bulb didn't go off for me until 5 or 6 years ago. So this last 5 or 6 years has been like the J era. Like it's been like so far ahead of anything else I've lived. And you're like I can like something about how you describe you
Describe it well.
yeah, it's like you're right there. Like you are like about to like it's kind of
You
like
define it well. She defines it very
yeah,
well.
it's kind of like you've been going up this hill, like on a roller coaster. You go up that hill really slow. Your process is slow, but once you get to the peak and you start going up down the other side, man, happiness just kind of smacks you in the face, and your
yeah,
life just like and it's like it's not literally overnight, but I can remember maybe not specific days, but specific times very recently where I would walk out my door and the world would just look brighter. it wasn't actually the sun didn't like turn up to the next brightness
How
level,
do you know
but
that?
it just, yeah. And and maybe you're starting to experience some of that with these, discoveries within yourself. But like I love when when the pendulum starts to swing back for somebody else to watch that or to hear about especially a young person who's going through it and like they're starting to get to the other side and they're starting to like the light is starting to get overshadow some of that cloudiness. And yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm so excited
I
for
know,
you.
right?
Yeah, I am so excited
Thank
for you.
you.
You're a unicorn. But you've given a couple tips to people, but I kind of want to go back again. Like you've talked about reflection, learning something new every day, being patient with others, kind of sitting, with your emotions, really guilt, shame. You talked about grace, all those things. You talk about your faith, which is very big.
Yeah, we're
Um,
gonna talk about more about that in a little bit. Yeah.
but I'm just curious, what do you think pushed you over? What got you over that edge? Is there a defining moment or not really? Or was it a combination of these three things happened or this mentor helped me or this form of self-care? Like was there one defining thing or not really? It's just kind of that's how you progressed. Maybe that's a
Um, Not really. I think it was kind of certain situations kept happening over and over again, and
Hmm.
it started to make me realize, okay,
What? What's going on?
yeah, I have some figuring out I need to do for myself because I end up with, you know, um, in really good situations, and I'd
Mm.
always mess it up on
Hmm.
not on purpose per se, but
Sabotage.
subconsciously. Yeah, because I didn't feel like I deserved it. So whether that was a
Hmm.
relationship or a friendship, it
So it
started to
just
become a
spinning.
pattern because
Yeah.
I was fortunate and I am fortunate enough to have really amazing people in my life. Like
Great.
just amazing people in my life. And I will say I really do believe the people you hang out with are the people you become because I didn't always have that. I wasn't always surrounded by those kinds of people.
Makes a
But
difference, right?
it really does. And my one of my best friends, she is makes me emotional just thinking about it. She is such a light in my life and has
Huh?
brought me so much closer not only to my faith but becoming this person that can one talk about the things I've been through and to be able to realize where I am wrong. She's not somebody that's just gonna, you know,
We
Tell
need
you
to
what
uh,
you
interview
want to
the
hear.
friend. We need to interview the friend. What a good
she's
helper.
an amazing woman.
Wow,
Honestly, one of my biggest inspirations.
that's
And um, she's helped me so much and helped me realize so many, not that she was or ever has been like pointed out my flaws in a harsh or negative way, but to have somebody in your life that can help you grow.
give you the
Um,
feedback. Give you some good.
yeah, romantically in a friendship, I think that is so important. Um, and it just became something that I started to realize was a pattern within myself. And I knew, and God really helped me realize that because it's only been, I mean, I've been on this healing journey
Mm.
technically my whole life, right? But really the past month or so, ever since I opened up a Bible, ever since my whole life has just changed drastically. And all I want to do is live like Christ, is live in a way that I can look in the mirror and be proud of myself. And forgiveness is one of the biggest things in Christianity. And for me, that starts with myself because um, if I didn't forgive myself, I would still be held to mistakes I've made, guilt, shame. And if God gives me the ability to have children one day, I hope that that is something that is truly the core of what they believe in, is when it comes to forgiveness, not just others, but yourself. Because, you make mistakes. We teach our kids that it's okay to make mistakes, but the key is not letting that hold you back from growing and from learning. And I hope that answered your question. I might have
Yes.
went on a little bit, but
So yeah, that's perfect segue into um, talking about faith, and for all three of us, faith is
Mm-hmm.
front and center in all our lives. And it was kind of funny, but so cool at the same time when you, Sarah, you reached out to me and said, "Hey, I got an idea about what I want to talk about. So next time you're in the gym, let's talk about it." So I found you, and you were I could tell you were nervous to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you were probably you didn't know my stance, and
yeah.
you were kind of like, you know, I don't know if this idea is going to be a good one. I could see that in your face, but
Hmm.
at the same time, was so like it was such a breath of fresh air for you to say that, because we have kind of I've talked about how important faith has been in my journey on the podcast, but we make it a point not to push anybody to believe a certain thing, or
Yeah.
in a direction of a certain religion or whatever. We just but for the as far as for the sake of this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
our faith for all three of us is a very important, to me, the most important part of our self-care, mind, body, and soul. It's the soul portion of that. Soul can be other things also, but so but
Mm-hmm.
for anybody listening, we want to be clear that we're not telling you what you should or should not believe. We're just saying, just as we would if yoga was an important part of our self care, we were talking about how what yoga meant to us. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to talk about what faith means to us, and particularly like with Sarah and I having gone through similar situations, how that has been such a guiding light in our healing journey. So, Sarah, I'm going to let you, since this was kind of your idea to, and wanting to talk about your faith, to talk specifically about how your faith has impacted your healing journey, particularly with the specifics of what you've gone through.
Yeah. So I grew up Catholic, and I, always said I was a Christian. Kind of just said that, you know, um, but it wasn't until actually not that long ago I kind of felt like I didn't want or deserve to be alive. And that really
Mm-hmm.
was it was a very difficult moment in my life. And in my mind, there was only two options. It was either, you know, commit to that, or take the road of trying to be better and learn about my faith. Because in my mind, I could feel something telling me that this isn't the option. You've gone through too much, you've come so far. And I do truly, with everything in me, believe that that was God. And I kind of let time pass. Started going to church a little bit. Um, would read things on Instagram like prayers. Again, was saying that I was a Christian. And it wasn't until I opened the Bible, it's almost like I truly was reborn again. Because as I've gotten closer to God, certain things actually come up even more for me. So it's almost like I'm facing my trauma again. I'm facing everything that's happened again, because it's so relevant to trusting God, to following his word. And now it's almost like when certain things happen, I have God's word in my mind. It's not just anxiety and fear and doubt. I have that to lean on. And that's been really, really special for me. And at times I'm wondering why it had to take all of this for me to find this, right? But I believe that God has a specific plan, and maybe I had to reach that point in order to find him. Maybe I had to feel like I've lost it all. What are my other options? And I think God does that sometimes for people. And it's truly been life changing. And I try to find the words to describe it, but the only thing I can say is the Bible. It's for me, I mean, it's to me a guidebook to life and a guidebook on how to handle things. Um, so
How are
it's
you
been
approaching
difficult, but I'm sorry.
how are you approaching that? So if somebody's listening and they're like, okay, well, this Bible's pretty big read, pretty complicated. Some of the text. So do you have a way of approaching it? Like, oh, let me look up this because this deals with grief, or let me look at this. What is your strategy with relying on that?
So I actually saw this video not that long ago, and it kind of broke down if you were interested in learning about the Bible or having the Bible kind of guide you through certain situations. I don't remember his name, but he said you want to start in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John because that's when you're learning about Jesus and what he did, why he did it, um, certain things that he kind of lived by. And I think that's been really helpful because it can be overwhelming.
Right.
And even just looking up online and taking the time to go through the Bible and read different translations of what certain people take it as or what it means literally, and kind of just going on that studying journey of the Bible. It can be overwhelming. And at first it was a lot because I started in Genesis. I started at the very beginning.
Oh
And
my.
um, it's confusing sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
Right.
But as I started to get more into it, I had a better understanding of where to go for certain things. And like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John have been kind of where my head's at right now because it really helps you understand and identify whatever you might be dealing with. There's an answer in one of those books.
Mm,
And that's been really helpful for me.
wow.
Now, see, and I think Cathy, and I think I've talked to you about this. I'm not one, and I've tried. I have so tried. I can't sit and read the Bible, but I'm the same way with any book. Like it,
Mhm.
I just I'm not a I'm not a reader that way. I don't absorb information on a written page. Like it not only is like you were saying, Sarah, like it's almost kind of like Shakespearean in how it's written, like
Hmm.
because it was written so long that like
Yeah.
it's not how they spoke back then. And it was literal. Now you can get a more modernized version of the Bible that kind of takes that away, but I get lost there, and it's very choppy to me, like reading wise.
Hmm.
It's not a big picture. It's tiny little pictures all in a row. Um, so I'm one that when I go to service, and we're lucky enough where I go that our pastor is very he's very informal and very modern, and he'll read directly out of the Bible and the words are up on the screen, but he'll kind of on his own translate to, okay, this is what it means for our everyday life. And that's like the message I absorb. The words I don't do anything for me on a page.
Yeah.
And I'm probably in the minority in that way. And I've tried different types of Bibles. I've tried different parts of the Bible. Um, but for me, I remember I had tried different churches and I finally settled on the one that I still go to now. And it took me a little while to kind of, because I get a lot of anxiety in social situations where there's a lot of people.
Hmm.
So I was fighting that and not and missing part of the service because I was so in my head about my anxiety. But once I was able to kind of clear that and I started actually absorbing what I was hearing, the first thing that really like that like hit me so hard was that spoke to me because I look the way our pastor delivers it, it feels like he's speaking to me directly. Now everybody there probably feels the same way, and
Yeah.
that's great. But just the idea that I'm a child of God, like that smacked me so hard. And I'm like, wow, because like we talked about earlier, you identify with the past, you identify with the trauma, you identify with all these things, and you want to hold. That's who we feel we are, so we want to hold on to that bad stuff so tight. But knowing, and for me, I felt and to not have a family and not have the support system and all the things, I felt so lesser for the longest time. I felt so unworthy, not just because of my trauma, but because of my environment, the big
Hmm.
picture environment. So to be told that I'm just as much a child of God as Cathy is, as Sarah is, and as anybody is, that like that was a gigantic moment for me because it's like, wow, it was the spiritual side of the progression of self for me. It was like I have a strong enough sense of where I belong in the spiritual world. Like
Yeah.
I'm equal to everybody, not better, not lesser, equal. And like I literally, if I'll be driving or I'm going through a thing in my head, I get in my head again. I'll say to myself, and I'll say the words out loud, Jay, you're a child of God. And I mean, it's not instantaneous. I don't, the thing doesn't go away. But if I do that often enough, it's like I'm not lesser, I'm not better, I'm equal. Like he died for me just as much as he died for everybody else.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the big thing for me. But I attach something every service to when we have different like themes, and he'll go through a series of, and he kind of jumps all around the Bible, but he wants to talk about a certain series of life lessons. He'll jump all over, but I'm to the point now where I get something that I can apply to my everyday life, every
Yeah.
service, and the music. I mean, look, I'm a music person anyway, but and I've talked. Cathy and I talk about this all the time. There is something about like, like I cry every time. Like maybe not full on ball, but I because it's not just the song itself, but it's the fact. And I'll pay attention to everybody else and like to have the whole congregation. And there's probably 300, 350 people at my service at any given time to like know that in that moment we're singing that. And I don't sing out loud, but that everybody's singing that it's all for the same purpose and we're all in the same boat and we're all in that moment together and praising the Lord. And and it's just, and look, I feel more spiritual Monday through Saturday than I do on Sunday for those couple hours at church because I play gospel music nonstop. Where I work, Sarah. I work alone and I work in the store. So if there's periods of time where there's nobody in the store, I've got the gospel music cranking, and I've probably got 20 songs that are my favorites, and I pick them, and they speak to me, and the gratitude wells up in me, and it's just, I mean, you can't, at least for me. And look, I was somebody that I felt like I always believed, but I didn't pursue and nurture my relationship with God until 10 years ago or so. Um, and I think especially when I was younger, my head was so, just a mess that I didn't want to add anything like anything, not just church, but anything else to the mess. I didn't want to add something to the list of stuff. And
Hmm.
that's how I approached it in my head. But it's like, I mean, that was, I might have told you this story, Sarah, when, I had been talking to someone, Alicia, Cathy, when she was the first person that said, Jay, have you ever thought about using your story to help others? And I was like, wow. So I was in the shower one night and I was thinking to myself, if I was in front of a group of people, what would I say to these people? And this instantaneous internal realization just hit me. I heard people talk about visions of God or voices from God. It wasn't anything like that, but there was a very distinct and clear instant realization that all the stuff that I had been through now had a purpose. My life now had a purpose. That I was going to be his messenger and I was going to be his testimony. And that was the moment that I was grateful for my stuff, all of it, all the stuff. And like that was my pendulum swing that night in the shower. And it's just been such a joy to like build on that and to be reminded, not just in church, but you know, I've talked to other folks in the gym about their faith and, different people. I used to have a guy that he's retired, but that would come in our store that was one of our reps that would sell us stuff. And him and I would have some great conversations about faith and stuff. And those conversations would have never happened if I was not in the place that I'm in my life. And it just, I tell people faith is not the idea that nothing as bad is ever going to happen to you. To me, faith is kind of like things are going to be okay when they do, because bad things are going to happen for all of us. It's kind of that big thing you have in your back pocket, like, okay, so life is crappy right now. I got to turn to my faith. That's the tool. That's the biggest tool in the toolbox, Cathy. We talk about that toolbox. I get goosebumps. I just get so amped about because 11 years ago, I would have never in a million years thought that this would have been not just that I'm in such a happy place, but just because of my faith, I would have never imagined that at all.
Yeah.
But yet here I am. And I can look back, Sarah, and know 100% because both parents addicts. My mom had me when she was 16, sexually abused as a child. My road could have gone in a dark way any day from the time up till the time I was 40, and it didn't. And I know for a fact that God's grace kept me because He would bring somebody into my life for a short period of time just to get me through that little bit of time, or there'd be baseball, or there'd be these things that would just show up in just the right time to get me through a little period of time. And there were a bunch of those little things all along the way. That was God's grace because he had a plan for me. And what we're seeing now, to me, with the podcast and using my story and talking to folks like you, and is the result of his grace. He got me here, and he's still with me, and I'm only able to do that because of him. And I'm just his messenger. That's the way I look at it. That I'm just I'm just. They say don't shoot the messenger. Well, I'm hoping that they're like paying attention to the messenger at least. Anyway.
Yeah.
See, Cathy, you're not the only one that can talk a lot. I just like nonstop for like 10 minutes.
Well, I mean, you're passionate about it, and I love that. And it's helped you, both of you.
Oh, it's been
Yeah.
the biggest thing. It's the thing.
I've heard, and look, we had a guest last week that said the same thing, right? In such a tough time that she had, her faith is what was able to allow her to have forgiveness for the person that her son was with when he had a car accident and lost his life. But she needed forgiveness, and she could only do that through her faith.
Yeah.
So, you know,
It's very
that
powerful.
forgiveness thing is a big deal, and I don't find it easy. That's an easy thing. And when you can really get there, wow, that's just wow to me when people can get there. I don't
Yeah.
know that I'm always that good of a person as that, but you guys certainly have had to make that choice. You've had those forks in the road.
Yeah.
Am I going to continue like this, or am I going to go this route? And by doing these things, I can go this route.
Yeah, I definitely think that certain situations happen, whether it's how to respond or what to say, and you kind of have to pick the road you go down. And it's still a struggle. It's definitely not something that
Yeah.
comes easy to me. It's been easier per se as I've gotten closer to my faith and through my healing, but it's never been something that's easy for me because when you're stuck in survival mode and you're constantly in your head, you don't react the way that you would like to. So being able to breathe and choose that path I think is really important.
Well, we talk.
We're insecure, Sarah. We do that out of insecurity. We're not sure of our own place. Our self voice is already talking to us before this event happens. So we're already thinking we're not enough or we're lesser. We're already thinking that. So when somebody else in our mind validates that thought, we lash out. We want to, we do the fight part of the fight or flight. Yeah. Dr. Phil, I love this. There's a lot of things that Dr. Phil says that I love, but he's had guests on, and he talks about how with holding on to anger or pain or whatever, when we get to the point when we're indifferent, we're not thinking about it good or bad. We're not, and I like to equate that to how we deal with the external crap in the world. Like there's all this external stuff that we can't control. When we're indifferent to somebody says something that we don't like or we don't agree with, or somebody does something that affects us, sure, we don't like it. We don't want that to happen. But when we're indifferent, like you like to describe it as taking a breath and, not responding emotionally. But when we're so secure in who we are that we're just not affected. We're not impacted by it. We're just like, we kind of brush it off and go on. It's hard because let's just face it, our world today is such an external world. Social media is that big elephant in the room that affects everybody to some degree, some more so than others. But it's
yeah.
So let's that's some great stuff, Sarah.
It really is.
Yeah, we appreciate you sharing all that. But before we get out of here, we're going to have a little fun. And first, we're going to do some music or movie trivia. So, Sarah, did you come up with a question for us?
I did. What was the first Pixar movie released?
Oh.
Wait, the name of it or the year?
The name.
Okay.
I'm going to
I think I have something.
Okay. I think there's probably something before this, but I'm going to say Toy Story just because.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, you guys are right. I thought it was Bug's Life.
Oh.
But
Jay, for the calculations, that's one for each of us.
Yeah. I think we're only one off from each other, so we're both doing pretty good. All right, Cathy, what's your question?
All right, I went to the streaming realm.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to Stranger Things. Did you watch Stranger Things, Sarah?
No.
All right. This is the Netflix series Stranger Things. In what year did one of the main characters, Will Byers, disappear and go into the Upside Down? It's an 80s. So
yeah, I know it's the 80s, but I'm trying to remember.
So get a year in mind.
I'm just gonna.
Sarah, you can take a guess. You can take a guess.
Yeah.
I've narrowed it down. So the main one of the main characters, one of the kids, Will Byers, disappears into what they call the Upside Down. But it was a year. It was and you get extra points if you know the exact day, Jay. But what year is what I'm looking?
I mean, I know that the whole series is based in the 80s. But I'm just going to guess. This is a wild guess. I'm going to say 87.
I'm going to say 83.
Sarah wins. Sarah wins. Okay. And Jay, for the record,
yep.
He not only disappears in 1983, he disappears on my birthday in 1983.
Oh, wow.
November the 6th, he disappears. What are we, in the 10th grade? Will Byers disappears on my birthday in the 10th grade.
Actually, we would have been juniors.
All right, juniors, better yet.
Yep. That's how old we are, Sarah. Sarah's like, wow.
I know. She's going to be like, my mother. Anyway, there you go. That was my trivia.
All right, so mine is movies. So, which movie in history was the most profitable based on the relation to the budget of the movie? In other words, like say, for example, Avengers Endgame probably box office probably 6 or 7 times the budget. So that's pretty good, 6 or 7 times the budget. So, but there are some movies that did infinitely better than that. They didn't make as much dollar money, just flat out money, but in relation to the budget,
I got
there's
an
some that
answer.
are crazy. And one is pretty obvious.
I got an answer.
The other one I was shocked at. Number
Wait,
two.
are we talking about one? We're talking about number one.
Yes, number one.
One
But
all
there's
right.
the number two one
All
really
right.
shocked me. Yep.
Okay. I got it. All right. You lock in, Sarah. I got one.
And I'll
I
say
try not to.
this:
Oh, here it goes.
the one that's number one is fairly local
Don't
based.
make me. Oh my God. See, when you do that, then I have to change my answer. I'm not changing my answer.
I'm helping you.
I'm not changing my answer.
Okay.
I don't know.
Or do I have to change my answer? I don't know what to do. Shay. Oh, okay. I'm going to change my answer. Now I have a number one and number two. Darn it.
I was
What do
gonna
you think?
say Harry Potter, but that wouldn't make sense because I don't know if they. I mean, because it was a long time ago. So in my mind, I'm
Yeah.
thinking that maybe
The whole series was very profitable, but this is like this number is ridiculous, and it's. Well, I don't want to give any more.
You're
clues.
fooling me. Okay, here goes. Ready?
Yep.
I changed my answer based on what you just said.
Okay.
You and your trickery. I'm going to say the Wedding Crashers.
No.
I was
Dangers.
thinking that too.
Okay, the first one I was going to say was the Titanic.
No. It made more dollar amount profit, but it didn't make. But it cost so much to make, so that it probably only made maybe 8 or 10 times the budget, which is still great. That's still a lot of money,
But
but
the
it costs
point
so much.
the point here is that him and I are both at zero today, so it's okay. Go.
But the actual movie that made the most profit in relation to its budget was the Blair Witch Project.
Would never in a million years have said that.
They only made that for $60,000.
She doesn't even know that movie. She was like not even born. Yeah.
It was filmed on the Western Shore. That's why I said somewhat local.
No.
But it made $268 million at the box office on a $60,000 budget. So it made 4,100 times its budget
Wow.
versus 8 or 10 times. Now the number two movie, Cathy,
What?
My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Really?
Yep, they made it for $6 million. It made $368 million. So it was like 61 times its budget.
And
Well,
you
that's a
brought
good
you brought on that nobody's going to get this question this week.
Well, see, I thought the Blair Witch was like it's famous for just a guy and a camera just recording it just in the field.
I've never
It was
seen
so
it.
cheap
I
to
don't know
make.
about
I just thought that was kind of common knowledge, but it
in
was.
your world, in the Watson world.
All right, so let's talk real quick about the stuff we've been watching lately that we've enjoyed. So, what about you, Sarah? Anything?
I've been watching Twilight recently.
Okay,
Yeah.
I love Twilight.
Yeah,
Never
it's good. I liked it when I was younger, but I've been watching. I'm on the last movie. I haven't watched it yet, but
Breaking Dawn Part 2,
yeah,
which has that like shocking twist in it, which I love that part. Yeah.
yeah.
I've
So
never
that's
seen any
cool.
of those.
Really? See, it's funny. I was late to that. I guess because I was a little bit older than what that movie was geared to at the time. I didn't watch them when they first came out. I kind of caught up later on, and I think they get better as they go. Like the two Breaking Dawn movies are really good. The last one I love, like that scene,
Really?
the fight scene. Like when they get to the fight scene at the end, like that's classic.
Yeah, yeah.
What about you, Kath?
Well, I guess you could probably guess what I'm doing. I'm rewatching Stranger Things in anticipation for the next release.
For November. Yeah.
So Dylan and I are making late night bad decisions and hitting 1 or 2 episodes late night, which is probably not good for me to stay up that late, but it's fun. And I sit there and act like I've never seen it. I'm just like, oh my gosh, why are you going into that woods? Like, I know why, but why am I asking myself that? Anyway, I'm enjoying the rewatch.
So Sarah, Stranger Things actually
It's awesome.
literally when the most recent group of the last season came out, it broke Netflix. Literally, like you couldn't get on Netflix because there was so high volume.
Wow.
Yeah.
You
got to go watch it.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like the shows that are like the most popular, I didn't watch initially. Game of Thrones, I was late to. Stranger Things, I was late to. Ted Lasso, I was late to.
Me too.
I caught them maybe a year after they were, and loved them all.
And then I look at something like Stranger Things, and I'm like, these kids, like, nobody walked onto that set thinking this is going to be,
Oh, it was It was like I said, it broke Netflix. It was so, and it's going to do the same thing. It's
This is
going to
pop
do crazy
forever.
numbers.
Yeah, it will. It's just
I'll have to watch it.
you really should watch it.
Yeah, it's
and
so
you can watch.
good.
You can watch 2 episodes and then 2 hours have gone by and you're like, "What? That's just 20 minutes? How'd that happen?"
Yeah.
You're not sleeping. You're not dozing. All right, what are you
Well,
watching?
I didn't do my normal Friday movies, but a couple things. One thing actually that I've been listening to is the Jay Shetty podcast. And speaking of Harry Potter, and Cathy, aren't you a Harry Potter fan?
Mm-hmm.
So he just interviewed 2 weeks ago Emma Watson. He interviewed, and it's a great. It's 2.5 hours long, but she talks about why she stopped acting. She talked about
I didn't know she
how
stopped acting.
Yep. She had such a great experience doing Harry Potter, and then later on when she would do other movies, it was uncomfortable and unhealthy, and
Wow.
it was affecting her mental health. So she ended
So
up
Hermione retired.
she did. I mean, she's done tiny little bits and pieces here and there. But yeah, she talks about that. And here's the cool thing: they showed previews. His interview guest for this week is somebody from our era, Cathy, is Madonna, and she doesn't do
Oh,
interviews with anybody.
wow. Wow.
But he's that guy that all the celebrities want to go to,
Huh.
like the mental health guru, kind of the life coach kind of person.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Wow.
But I also want to talk about, and Sarah, you might be familiar with this because it's more of a younger generation thing. Is I had been watching on Netflix. The number one movie on Netflix had been the K-pop, the most recent K-pop movie, Demon Hunters. That's the animated movie.
Uh-huh.
Well, I didn't watch the movie, but I kept seeing this song on TikTok. It kept popping up of the end of the movie with this, like, it's the theme song to the movie. And man, it's such a good, like, mental health, make you reflect on your life. And it's so cool how the movie is in 2 parts, and it's called Demon Hunter. But the way the song describes it, it's not just like you're hunting the demon, like they're hunting actual demons in this world that they're in the movie, but you're like battling your own demons. So there's that reflection of we're always battling our own demons in our own minds and our own life. But it's called the song's called This Is What It Sounds Like. And there's a line that says, it talks about how when you're no longer lying to yourself in your own head. This is what it sounds like. This is what can happen when we're not paying attention to those voices in our own head that are telling us all the negative things. This is what it sounds like. This is how it can be if we do X, Y, and Z. So it's been everywhere on TikTok, like everywhere. And I'm like, let me check this out. So I'm going to actually watch the movie. I haven't watched it yet, but it's been number one. I'm like, it's animated. It just seems like a younger generation kind of movie. although I'm not opposed to animated movies, I think Inside Out, Inside Out 2 are fantastic movies,
Oh yeah.
especially for the mental health aspect of things. Um, so yeah, so I'm gonna just because that song, like damn, if this music is like that in this movie, I'm gonna watch it. So and I mean there's three girls. They're three characters, and they sing together. They start out individual, and they come together. It sounds so good. Um, so yeah, I've been surprisingly just like discovering this song in this movie. So I've been doing the Love Is Blind. I'm almost done all the seasons, Cathy. I'm going backwards. Well, luckily,
You're back to the beginning.
tomorrow, it's either tomorrow or Thursday, season 9 premieres. So
You're
um,
ready, sort of.
but Love Island Games has been on, so I've been watching Love Island Games. So that's been pretty cool. That's brand new. So
You're funny.
I've been pretty tickled with that. So anyway, Sarah, we can't thank you enough.
Yes.
You have been such a joy, and so we appreciate you being vulnerable and being open and honest about your life, your struggles, and
Being here.
talking about your faith. And I mean, I think you're so badass.
That I do.
You're just, although it probably doesn't feel like it sometimes. You are well on your way, and you've got a lot of it figured out already. So
Thank you.
that's pretty cool, and yeah, we appreciate you coming on. And
Yeah, no, thank you. And I just want to say that there's this one quote I really like. It's pain may shape your story, but it doesn't get to write the ending. And I feel like that's something that has kind of stuck with me lately, or I try to remind myself of. But yeah, just you're never ever alone, even if it might feel like it. You're not ever alone. So
yeah, that's a big theme here on the podcast. That's kind of the biggest thing we hope that people get when someone like you comes on our show. We hope that people listening are like, "Oh wow, well, Sarah's going through some of the same things that I've gone through," or this other person's struggling. I don't know them, but they're struggling, so I don't feel so alone. Even for the hour that we're doing the podcast, if it just makes them feel not so alone for an hour.
yeah,
Look,
exactly.
she got me 2 pages.
See what will happen now, Sarah, is Cathy will take that and she'll do some kind of training for her staff based on childhood trauma or some topic.
This is field research. Come on. It's real stuff from the experts.
No, but
So,
thank
Sarah,
you. I really appreciate it.
We're
glad to have you on. You're welcome back anytime. If something else pops in your head, grab me at the gym and say, Jay, I got another great idea. Let's talk about da 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 da.
Definitely.
Yes.
So, all right, guys, we appreciate you joining self-care talk. We appreciate you joining Eastern Shore Talk and talking self-care with all of us. And we'll catch you next time. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Hang tight for a few minutes, Sarah. Let the recording catch up. You'll